So you do have access to the advanced script settings, and then you click Next, and then Next again, and this is ready to generate. And what will happen, as I said, is the DDL compliant script and the BCP. See, there's the BCP coming. Now, if you want, you can actually save this again so that you can edit it, which is another cool thing. And then you click Next, and you connect to the particular server. Now, notice it's server.database.windows.net, so I'm going to connect to this one right here and see if I can type it correctly. Make sure that's right. This is my 30-day account. Oops, have a typo there. And notice it says, and I'm going to do this on purpose. I'm just going to put in my username and password. And I love tools that are smart, so I don't have to be. And now I say connect, and it's going to say, Azure requires this server name extension, just like I had told you, and then say, do you want me to add it? Yes. Okay, and now it's going to show me my list of databases. And, of course, as I said, you only have 2 here. So if I click Create, there's my Web or Business Edition. And if I try to create, then it will fail. Okay, so if I wanted a new one, because I only have 2. If I wanted to just, augment a dating game, I could just click Next, and then it would apply this. Of course, I already have this here, so I don't really have to do it. It just applies the DDL and applies the BCP. So really simple little tool, the SQL Azure Migration Wizard. I like it a lot. I use it really frequently. Let me go back and go here. There it is. And as you're going through, one thing I'll remind you, I didn't actually show you the firewall settings. This is the old portal. It looks sort of similar. Do remember when you're using the Migration Wizard, because it's a really common thing. A customer will go, or a potential customer will go and get their 30-day account and want to put a database up. So they'll use the Migration Wizard, and then they'll forget to set the firewall rule. In fact, let me go and show you that, just so you can see how it works. You can do it programmatically and all this fancy stuff, but the easiest way to do it is through the management portal, and you've signed into windows.azure.com. Notice I'm signed in over here, and you just set your firewall rule. Now notice this is a demo account, so I have all access, obviously very unsecure. I just click Add, and it's going to tell me my IP address, and then I just put in the rule. So you just need to remember to do that. It's an important thing, or you obviously can't connect at all. Now, again, since I'm in the portal, one of the things you might want to do, just as a best practice before you run a Migration Wizard, you create your new account. I guess I'm assuming that you've already done these things, and then you create your database. You might want to test your connectivity to it before you try to connect with a tool. It's just kind of a best practice in case, like I know I go to a lot of different places to demo, and maybe 1433 is not available. So they're connected, and then if you can't connect, I'll put an incorrect password. You'll get this trace ID, which is helpful if you need to call support. Okay, so that's the way that works. Another thing for you to be aware of, and we won't talk much about this in migration, but I'll just show you it's here, is we have, if you click on Manage, and I already brought this up just for purposes of time, you'll notice that you have this little Silverlight, and both of these portals are Silverlight-based, which is sort of interesting in case you have some members of your team that need access to your SQL Azure database, but for whom you do not wish to install or enable SQL Server Management Studio. You want something more lightweight. In fact, one of the interesting scenarios is if you're in a non-Microsoft shop, maybe you had a Java front end, or you're doing something like iPhone development or something, and you want probably your developers to have some kind of access to your SQL Azure backend, but you're not a Microsoft shop, so you don't really have the SQL Server on-premise tool. So that is one of the scenarios for using this. And you can see this is just a really small database. I have the database up here, and I can do a new query to it. So I can say, select star. And it's real simple. There's no IntelliSense or anything yet in this tool. And the authorized users, because you have to log in, can see the data. And then if they wanted to make a change, they could actually see the entire rows of data here. Or if they had permission, they could make structural changes to the database. So this tool is actually very new, and if you have strong feelings about this tool as to what you'd like to see in it, at the end of the webcast we have links for you to give some opinion. we're really interested in how our customers are going to use this. Right now, you'll see it supports only a very small subset of the features available in SQL Azure. It supports tables, views, and stored procs. So this is called the SQL Azure Web Database Management Tool. So not used that much in migrations, more so that you're going to use the portal to test connectivity. Okay? All right, so let's go back. So I showed you just briefly about the portal, setting up the firewall to make sure that your first sort of test is successful, and I suggested using the SQL Server Migration Wizard. And that's what success looks like in the Migration Wizard. Very similar conceptually to the Migration Wizard is the Migration Assistant for MySQL and for Access. These are both beta tools that are available, and they support the same idea, the porting of the schema, logins, and the data itself. And you can see how they're supported here. So let's take a look. I actually don't remember what I have on this computer and see what I've got. I've got some screenshots as well, so we'll kind of see what this looks like. Let me get some of this off so that we can have a clean screen. And this one is the Migration Assistant for Access. Okay, and I'm going to say, so this license is still good. I'm going to, let's see, let me go out to my Azure resources here, see what I'm looking for here, and go here. Where is this? Sorry, guys. I think I'm in here, and here it is. Okay, so, and there it is. I just moved, there we go. I just moved the directory. Okay, so now it's wizard-driven, so really simple. So you create your project, add your Access database file, select the object, and then connect, and then link the tables if you want to, and then convert and migrate the data. So one thing that you do need to do when you start, and this is actually important, you need to say, are you migrating to SQL Server or to SQL Azure? Because it's going to matter in terms of the DDL schema that's created, as you now know from understanding there are feature differences between the products. So I'm going to say next, and then I'm going to find a database. Let's see if I have one. That might be the tricky part. Let's see if I go back here. Sorry for fumbling around a bit. Go in here, Azure, Azure Resources, here, and I'm looking here, Azure. Let's see if there's something in here. May not. Okay. Let me just do a quick search and see if I have one. If not, I may have to just go with screenshots. Let's see where this guy is hiding. And yeah, okay, so it's here. And all right. And I'm going to say here, wow, it looks like it's going to be here. Okay, maybe I was right. All right. And say scan. There. Okay, so there it was. I was in the right spot, sorry. And select file. And next. It's a real simple wizard if you can just find out where your databases are, huh? And verify, and there we are, and finish. And all right, next. And here's my zip code database. There's a little sample database. And here I need to make a connection, and I'll just connect to yet another instance. I have quite a few out there. And I'm going to browse. And it says I have to connect to SQL Azure to get a list of the databases, yes. And why is it doing this? This is kind of interesting because I originally said I want to connect to Dating Game. Does Dating Game have a list of the databases on SQL Azure? No. Master does, right? So it had to reconnect because remember, you can't just hit the drop-down and switch. Subtle differences because of the way that the databases are actually physically set up. So I'm going to just pick some junk database here, and I'm going to say next. And then I'm going to say next. And I have some tables that I can synchronize, and you can, it's pretty straightforward. And it says, you know, we have some other tables over here because I I'm throwing this into a database that is totally unrelated just because I'm being lazy. And it's saying, all right, I have some information that I need to map or say whether I want it in or not. And I say, okay. And now I'm just loading these additional tables into the database. So they're first creating the tables by running the DDL and then migrating the data using the BCP. So it's the same thing conceptually. So I'll let this just go. And again, it's kind of cool because it's running live against this particular instance. And what do we have? 42,000 rows going in. So, you know, not tiny, but not totally insignificant. It's kind of fun to see. And I'm on my home network here, so I'm not on a super fast network. So we're up to 30,000 rows, 40,000 rows, almost there. And again, as this is cooking, I'll tell you that the migration tool for MySQL works basically identically to this. It just, you connect to a MySQL database, so if some of you have that business scenario. So now once you've got this, you can drill in and you can see that we had these three tables, and if we click on the table, you can see that gives us the information, and if you wanted to, you could, adjust the data types of the columns and do more granular management of the particular migration if that was a need be. So it's a pretty simple tool. Notice the add database, find database, reconnect, convert, load, and migrate, create report, convert schema, migrate data. So again, we have this core idea of schema and data, So then, I could go out to my portal, and this is a different login, so that's not going to actually show up here because this is my restricted login because I'm filming and I want to make sure that my credentials are properly secured. This is a different type of a portal. But really simple tool, and if you have a situation with SQL Azure with the sources, Microsoft Access, I recommend you take a look at this or MySQL. I'll just close out of that and say no and go back and share. And this talks about what I just mentioned. The support is for Access version 97 on up. And this is, of course, a destination of SQL Server as well. So kind of a little side, if you want to just move into an on-prem SQL Server, get some of those Access databases that are on people's desktops cleaned up, you can do that. And I showed you that. Oops, let me go forward. And there's the MySQL tool. See how it looks just identical? And I showed you that. Okay, so because the SQL Azure migration wizard, the first one that I showed you, has been so successful, and it's not officially part of the product, it's the CodePlex tool, the team said that they should create a tool that's part of the product. So this is newly released. This recording is happening in April. This was a couple weeks ago. This is at the SQL Azure Labs, and this is the database import and export tool for SQL Azure. Now this is really interesting because it uses the similar principles of generating the script for the DDL schema and then the BCP, but it has a little bit more because it's built on the DAC-PAC framework, which I know many of the customers haven't had a chance to even explore at all in on-premise. So I'm actually going to jump off for a minute and talk about DAC-PAC and then think that this new tool is DAC-PAC plus BCP. So it's kind of a clever name. It's called BACPAC. So it's a zip file that's a BACPAC. So, and this is a beta kind of a thing, so I'll show you it a bit. All right.